Ready to go live?
Okay.
Going live. And we are live. I am here with Vash today for a pre-show show. I don't know if Vash is going to stay for the second show.
Well, maybe. I mean, it is pretty much my Friday.
Yeah. So how are you feeling today?
Well, I'm all right. I got off work about a couple hours ago, and just got to relax, play a little bit of Fortnite. Um, I actually won twice. That was nice.
Okay. Good.
And then I thought, like, because we had scheduled this, and I forgot your time zone was uh an hour behind on mine.
Yes.
So whenever I had said 8 o'clock, it was 9 o'clock for my time. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could have done it
you
earlier.
know.
I mean, it was just a matter of I
No, no,
kind of
no, no.
made it
I
up.
was I was fine with that. I was perfectly fine with that. Like, because it was just so happened that I was, doing stuff, and my kid woke up, and I had to do stuff with my kid, and then I got a phone call that I had to do. That's like three. What I came just for the audience. I came in here like 3 minutes before he was about to try and go live. So.
No, okay. So the first, I do have a question for you because you mentioned in Discord that you think there's going to be an issue in April. Why April?
April is mainly because if I'm correct with the current standing of things and current amount of knowledge that's being put out and revealed, and like, for example, the guy from Pizzagate, the guy that debunked Pizzagate,
Okay.
he turned out to be a pedophile. Like, wouldn't that put all of the things that the people were making claims into question?
Well, it is
The
it
people,
does it definitely does. It's the people who are trying to.
like, there's various different things just left and right. Like, just recently, we've had the guy from New York, the senator. He's being burned.
Congressman,
And yeah,
you're talking about
the congressman. Sorry, excuse me.
Santos.
Yep. Like, all of this is happening at a certain speed. And to me, I believe April would be around the time that everything's going to be raining sideways, and it's going to be a shit that's hitting fan type of moment.
So you don't think it's due to them going into the trials with Trump per se, specifically the time frame.
Not exactly.
I'm talking about the time frame. All right, I'm sure that you probably figure that this adds to it.
Yes, it's going to be a part of it. Much in the same way that in Ireland, if they arrest fucking Conor McGregor, the Irish people will burn that prison to the ground
Uh,
and get him out.
hmm. Speaking of Ireland,
Like, the man is a national treasure of Ireland.
okay, let me do this over here and go. Let me share this with you.
Yeah, sure. And in DMs, cool. Okay.
No. Just I'm gonna go share this live on Discord.
Ah,
There you
oh,
go.
gotcha.
That way you can see
Well, that's even better.
this. That way you can see it real time rather than waiting for the update. Okay. right? As we go through it, just so that the audience can see if any of them are show. Now, this is Irish Lives Matter being called hate speech and ignites an American firestorm. I don't know how it's igniting an American firestorm when the firestorm was over in Ireland, right? This is specifically Northern Ireland, by the way. Conservatives in the United States are
Irish Lives Matter is hate speech here?
no in Dublin, Ireland. All right, or excuse me, Belfast rather. They are. You remember? All right, you saw what happened in Dublin, right? With the Algerian who stabbed the
Yeah.
child, and then they rioted. Well, they're also rioting now in Belfast, in Northern Ireland, because they don't want immigrants. They said we've had enough immigrants, and so they put up signs, and one of which was Irish Lives Matter, and they're saying now that that's hate speech. Of course, it's Britain, right? And Northern Ireland
No,
falls under
I don't
Britain.
consider that as hate speech. I consider that as a protest to the people. The people are pissed. They don't like the immigrants stabbing their children, and well, I kind of rationalize with that. I would not want my soon to be 4-year old to be stabbed to death. No, thank you. He's white, yeah, but I'm not wanting him to be stabbed to death.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
understandable.
these are pissed off.
This is understandable. All right.
These
Roughly a day.
people are really pissed.
Signage in Belfast included a statement near Tildarg Avenue, which I have no idea what that is. All right, that said that the community will no longer accept the rehousing of illegal immigrants, according to the report from the BBC. The poster also reportedly used an offensive term to refer to other communities as well. Right? Roughly a day later, a graffiti message read Irish Lives Matter was also spray painted on the side of the Kennedy Center in Belfast. It appears to be an adaptation of All Lives Matter, which gained popularity after the rise of Black Lives Matter movement in the United States in 2020. Yeah, this is quite frankly disgraceful. All right. The problem with the immigration that's going on right now, and I'm not going to talk to the specific incidents. Well, no, let me talk to the specific incident that kicked this off, right, in Ireland. You had an Algerian man who had initially fell under deportation orders. Okay? This guy was supposed to be deported. And of course, the whinging and the crying and the legalese from the left basically got him to stay, and then they eventually gave him status. And he had been in the country, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but I'm pretty sure that I saw the report that said that he had been in the country for over 20 years. Okay, now 20 years is long enough, or should have been long enough, to assimilate into the culture, if you intended to do that. But he went on his stabbing spree where he stabbed several people. I mean, only one. I think only one child died, but he stabbed, what was it, 3 or 4 people?
It was a total of 5 people.
Okay.
It was 2 adults and 3 children.
Okay.
Whenever I say children, I'm meaning under the age of 18 at least. The
Right.
minimum, the smallest one, was 5.
Right. And the reason he did it was to protest what's happening in Palestine. Like he gives a shit what happens in Palestine. Okay? Truly. So he did it for religious reasons. This was a religious attack. Okay? In my mind. This is how I see it. Because Algerians have no connection to the Palestinians at all. Absolutely none. With the exception of quote unquote Islam. Now, if I'm wrong, let me know. Okay, if I'm wrong about that, so you have a guy who followed in his mind his religion, which told him go stab children,
I
and
mean,
these are children he had been around. He'd been in this area in Ireland for 20 something years. Did he assimilate? Why didn't he assimilate? What was wrong with the assimilation? Any ideas? Any thoughts?
I'm uh, I'm not quite sure, honestly. Um, I do know that humans are a tribal type of people. Like if you let them, normally they will by default go and gather in mass together. Now after that, then they will form cliques with people that have common interests. But first, the first initial reaction is go and find people that look exactly like you.
Oh, then I just
Um,
killed that thing.
that
Sorry about
that
that.
being said, that being said, with enough of them, I feel that this person was frenzied up by people that were kind of talking around him about it to the point that he just snapped. Like, I mean, look at the protester that or the guy that just the lawyer. He was actually a lawyer and a teacher actually. Um, he uh, he walked up and shot two of the gas protesters because he was just tired of it. He walked up and he told them to move and pointed and that he was going to be late for work and the protesters kind of squared up on him a little bit and he walked over and grabbed the gun. He walked back. From witnesses, one of them said, what are you going to do? Are you planning on ending someone? He said, are you going to be first? And then shot him. And then shot the other guy. And then calmly waited for the police to get him.
Okay. And what do you think should happen to that guy? I do remember the story, by the way.
I mean, like what I'm saying though is eventually you get fed up with something.
Well, the
I
fact is
believe.
is the fact is these are terrorist like actions, and it's about time. There's a difference between saying, okay, we want to do a protest, and going through the process of saying we're going to do a march. Okay,
Yeah, the
versus
marches won't be heard anymore.
the people
Like,
who just go out there, collect together, and then say we're just going to take over the road, right? There's a
yeah,
process to sit up and say, okay, we're not going to bother. We're intending to demonstrate our view of things versus people who are going out there. I'm here to make your lives miserable and going out there to try and harm other people because that's what you're doing when these guys get in these streets. Okay, they're not protesting anything. They're just sitting there trying to harm other people, right? As if somehow that's going to solve whatever delusional problem is in their own minds. And it's unfortunate.
yeah.
It really is unfortunate. Here's another story for you. I think I'll do window this time. Probably be a little
All right,
easier.
let's take a look.
This time it won't go away. There you go. Protester self-immolates outside the Israeli consulate in Atlanta. A protester with a Palestinian flag self-immolated on Friday outside the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, authorities said. The person, whom officials have not identified, is in critical condition. Police Chief Darren Shirebaum, I guess is the way you say it, or Shearbaum, right? Said said at a news conference. A security guard who attempted to intervene was also injured. We believe this building remains safe. We do not see any threat here, the chief said. We believe that this was an act of extreme political protest. So a person went the whole Buddhist route and lit themselves on fire outside the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, Georgia, to protest what's going on for the Palestinians. Now, that I'll give him credit. That's a protest, all right. That is somebody that's truly saying, "I want to make a point, and I want everyone to see this." It's also a sign that you're possibly deranged. Okay, um, just putting it out there.
Oh,
Okay,
what makes you think that? This could be semi-peaceful,
I, it, I understand
right?
that. I get that part. Okay, I'm not calling for this person to be arrested later on. Okay, just putting it out there. This harkens back to the Vietnam War protests by the Buddhist monks who were actually not protesting the Vietnam War. They were protesting the some of the actions of the current leader of South Vietnam at the time. Right? They weren't protesting the war per se. Just so people understand that they see, everyone has seen that picture. All right, of the Buddhist calmly sitting there while
Yeah.
he's in flames. All right. It had to do with some of the restrictions that were being placed on the Buddhist temples at the time. Right. And acts such as those were, quite frankly, I'm not going to say the word common, all right, but it was a type of protest that was known. Does that make sense? All right. It was not. It's
Yeah.
part. It's those kind of things are culturally relevant. All right, in Vietnam and in the Far East as a whole, to be honest. Okay, those types of actions, but that doesn't apply to the Palestinians. I have never heard of Palestinians before lighting themselves on fire. Okay, it's not part
Oh,
of their
maybe
culture.
by accident, like they pour like whenever they try and stuff the Molotov, it's not all the way, you know.
That's a possibility.
So,
That is a possibility.
so it
I can't
just
deny that. They lit the Molotov and dropped it, and that might have been the self-immolation. It might not have been intentional.
yeah. I mean, it could be out of protest though, and it could be ending in them in fire.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
very, very much so.
you gotta pick your battles.
Well, all right. I'm going to be harsh for anybody that doesn't understand this. War is war, folks, and war isn't something that can always be avoided. You have to understand that there are people out there, and there are groups out there that, when it comes to war, right, that number one aren't afraid of it. Number two, think of it as their best way to get what they want. All right. And so they'll declare war and they'll go on war. This is what happened in World War II, for example. Okay. Japan didn't attack China because China, from a defensive posture, right? They attacked China because they were trying to take something from China. They were trying to take away things. Okay. This is in stark contrast to Britain declaring war on Germany when it attacked Belgium. or attacked Poland rather. Okay, that's a defensive reaction to an aggressive action being taken, and there is a difference. Okay, there's a difference as to why you are at war, and it makes the entire case. And this is what you've got going on right now in Gaza. Now, I'll be honest with you. Israel is running around trying to kill the Hamas terrorists. Okay, and everyone keeps whinging about, oh, civilians are dying. Show me a civilian. Seriously, Bash. Show me a civilian. If you sit up
I
there and
mean, that little girl.
uh-huh,
I believe that 5-year-old was a civilian in Ireland.
well, that 5-year-old girl was a civilian in Ireland because she wasn't being used, okay, as a
Like,
as a
I
as a
believe,
as a weapon
that
transportation platform. Can you say that about the children in Gaza?
I would honestly even argue that George Floyd was a civilian and was used.
No, 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 no. I'm not saying civilians don't exist. Okay, in especially in Western society, but
Hmm.
they don't exist in Gaza. Is my point. And what I'm trying to point out is number one, if you put up somebody from Hamas and how they attack and how their terrorism and everything, somebody's peeling out right in front of my yard. I don't know what's going on. They get a new road and they think everything's all hunky dory. They just repaved my road right in front of my house. But if you think if you think that these people are like Westerners, right? That they differentiate combatant between a combatant and a non-combatant. Okay, and
Hmm.
that's the standard you're going to apply. You can't apply that standard to Gaza because every single person there, okay, is Hamas. You have to approach it that way, and that includes the 5-year-olds. That includes the 2-year-olds. Now, I know people are like, "Well, how can you say that?" I say that very simply because these people will put bombs on these children and tell them to go next to that school over there, and then they will blow them up. Children are nothing more to them than weapons transportation platforms. And before somebody says, "Oh, that's not true," they cry, they cry. Oh, they scream Allah Akbar too, and they all support it. Okay, so when they talk about these civilian deaths, first of all, how are you going to prove that that person was a civilian? That person was truly a non-combatant? How are you going to prove that? You can't in Gaza. It's absolutely impossible. And the population has to decide, look, we need to end this. It's the only solution. And I know it sounds harsh, and it is. And I know it sounds brutal and callous, and to an extent, all of that's true. But you're not going to get any other solution with this. Not over there. They don't think like we do. They do not have the same view of life and humanity, all right, that the Western world has cultivated. They don't. My little rant's over now. So you mentioned, by the way, Vash, you mentioned Athens, Tennessee, and what happened in, I believe it was
Yes.
1948, I believe, 48 or 46.
Yep. Around there.
All right. Why don't you explain to the folks, because I know about this, but why don't you explain to the folks what happened there?
All right. Well, so I'll explain it just kind of the way that I will, the way that I usually do. Um, the men of war the men that were fighting for their freedom, the men that fought for an idea of America in the olden times where they could be free to go about their jobs and pursue their careers, and every industry was doing pretty fucking well, actually, because most of them were small business and the corporations were useful in the sense of railways and the like, but everything was doing its job as intended and was educated in its job. If you went to a shoemaker, it was the person that fucking made that shoe, and probably their dad made shoes. But in that time, the men left. The fighting men left and fought against tyranny to come back, especially the men of Athens, Tennessee, to a corrupt group that would stuff the ballots. They deputized criminals. They made certain bands. They would pull over veterans saying that they had whiskey on their breath and would fine them and jail them. Until a man that was a sailor in his sailor uniform was coming home. He didn't drink, and his mates knew that he didn't drink. Well, there was a tussle, and the person that shot him said that he came at him with a knife, to which many of the sailors would question, where'd he get the knife from? Where was he hiding the knife? He's in his uniform. And MC, would you have knowledge as to why they would say that?
Well, maybe because the uniforms at the time, right, did not have nice big cargo pockets to hide things in.
They didn't have roughly any pocket.
Well, it kind of depended on
None.
it depended on the which uniform it was, right, for the Navy. But yeah, their whites
Well,
don't have it.
for
Their
this
white,
man,
yeah,
none.
yeah, it would have he would have been in his, what they call the whites, and no, those whites have
Yeah,
absolutely no
no
pockets
no
whatsoever,
pockets.
and that is one of the what do you call it? It's one of the peculiarities of the Navy, um, in their dress uniforms. Right, they initially did not have pockets anywhere, not even front pockets like your pant pockets. They didn't even have pant pockets. Okay,
Yeah,
all right, in those whites,
but
it's one of the strangest things that it is what it
but
is.
anyway, he dies,
Hmm.
and the boys get really pissed off. Whenever I say the boys, I'm talking about the military, the vets, the ones that fought for their freedom, the ones that had to do what needed to be done, and probably were waiting on their fucking check from Uncle Sam, and it still probably wasn't enough for the shit that they were done. They came home wanting the dream that they had sought, only to find corruption. And I'm going to go ahead and be historically accurate to anyone that possibly hears this in the future. It was Democrats that did it. It was the Democratic Party at the time.
Yes, it was the Democrat machine. They had total control over the town, to include especially sheriff's department, which you mentioned, they they were doing ballot stuffing, and they were the ones controlling the ballots. And people were like, "Well, wait a minute here. We want to see this." And it came to a head when they petitioned, right? And they did. They petitioned the federal government to include the FBI to do something about this, to actually investigate it, and they were told there's nothing wrong here. Okay, that they were not going to get involved. The the federal authorities had no business getting involved in this. All right, and so they said, okay, since the state doesn't want to fix it, since the federal government doesn't want to fix it, we'll fix it. They had an
Yeah.
they had an election, and they demanded that the sheriff count the ballots in front of everybody. The sheriffs refused to release the ballots, and a gun battle ensued. And it was a gun battle.
Yeah. And at the time, they were firing upon the sheriffs that were outgunned, supremely outgunned. Um, at least like four Tommy guns against one outgunned. So like they riddled that place and just kept firing and kept firing and kept firing. And well, there were actually small stories of the neighborhood going up and giving food to the people that were firing upon the sheriff's department.
Yes, the town had had enough as well of the absolute heinous corruption. Right? This is not taught in schools, by the way, which is unfortunate
Yeah.
because it's something
Well, I
we
mean,
definitely should
honestly,
learn.
it's the reason why we should have our Second Amendment rights, and I believe that we as a people need to say enough is enough. You know what, Ireland? Irish lives fucking matter. Fuck yeah. I support you.
Don't give Jensen
Like, you know,
any
this
other
is
ideas.
well, I mean, I gotta say, Ireland, the Irish people um have had enough. Like honestly, and I believe that the UK could possibly go that way too. You know, should the king be be somehow in that type of direction where the people will have enough.
The
I
king,
believe that that is Machiavelli. That yeah, Machiavellian.
um, the Machiavelli was a he wrote the Prince. If you've ever read the Prince, um, he was
Yeah.
a writer from Italy. Actually, obviously with the name you can tell, who was referring to what was going on at the time in his time. And in his time, there was nothing called Italy. Okay, you had
No,
various
no, there wasn't.
you had various city states like Florence and and so forth. Right, these become what they call the Vatican. The papal states, the Vatican papal states, and so forth. You had the various different regions: Florence, Milan. All these areas became part. This was during the Renaissance time, where they came into ascendancy as a collapse, right? And they had various wars, right? So Machiavelli wrote a piece called The Prince, all right? And the biggest statement that he made that everyone remembers, all right, is that it's better to be feared than loved. Okay, and I'm shortening and I'm paraphrasing it, but really that's what it comes down to. All right, when you're in charge,
Well, he also mentions about cruelty.
he does.
Whenever you're doing an act of cruelty as a ruler, to only do it as few times as possible and do all of the cruelty all at once.
Well, he tried to redefine the difference between cruelty and ruthlessness. and
Yeah.
cruelty, to be
But
honest.
to if you must be cruel, do it all at once.
Right. If you must be ruthless 100% and finish it. Okay. It's an interesting book. It's not that large, to be honest. The Prince is more of a like an 80-page little pamphlet more than anything else, right? I mean, it is interesting.
Yeah.
I have read
Yeah, like I mean, you'll have more pages in like Sun Tzu or something, but
it. It's about
it,
the
it all the same. I believe that that should be also required reading.
yeah. It's unfortunate that it's not. There, there, there's certain things that I fought against in when I was growing up against reading in high school, right? Because I thought it was you know boring and banal, right? But looking back at it now and seeing what's
Okay,
being
which
taught
one?
now,
Which
um,
one? Come on.
basically
What?
the
Which book?
it's not a book, right? It's the teachings of, well, first of all, when I was growing up, I was taught Aesop's
Yes,
fables,
I
right?
love them.
But they're not being taught anymore. They're not being taught
I know,
anywhere
but
anymore.
I love them.
All right. Um, I,
I actually have a hardback of Aesop's Fables.
we we were taught in high school things about in the life of Socrates. Okay. Now we did not go deep into the Socratic method per se, but it was mentioned and explained in a very simple manner. All right, that got people to think rather than emote. All right, these are critical think. This starts the process for critical thinking. Okay, and none of that's taught anymore. The classic philosophies are not being taught. It's the New Age philosophies that have taken ascendancies, and the New Age philosophies rely upon emotion, not thought, not reasoned thought. And that includes Nietzsche, by the way, for people who don't wonder what I'm talking about. Right? And I say that because Nietzsche, with his assignment of Superman, failed to understand that that assignment itself was arbitrary. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
All right. So, I'm sorry if I'm boring people out
but I
there.
mean, I will say, MC, I can make the argument for Nietzsche. Um, and that it will be Sweden and autism rate, and that's all I'll say.
Okay. Ready to do another story that's completely non sequitur to everything?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Angel Reese ban return explained by LSU's basketball coach Kim Mulkey. The LSU's women's basketball star Angel Reese will return to the team after a multi-week absence just in time for the top 10 matchup with Virginia Tech. She will play tomorrow, said head coach Kim Mulkey. All right, on Wednesday with a smile. Reese has been away from the program since being benched at a halftime of November 14th. What a way to rate that. Being benched on November 14th with the win over Kent State. That game, by the way, for those who don't know, she should have benched the entire.
Which is everyone,
She should have
which is
benched.
literally everyone.
Yeah, that game was so bad, was so lopsided. She could have benched the entire starting team,
No,
starting five.
no one. Yeah, but my thing is, I believe that no one paid attention to this.
Oh yeah, yeah, no. That's true. No one did pay attention to it. Mulkey refused to disclose the reason
No,
behind the forwards' absence. Okay, now the reason I
there are content creators on YouTube that are playing Minecraft that have more of an audience than the WNBA.
that's true. That's true. But this wasn't the WNBA. This is women's college. But it's the women's college has more of a following than the WNBA does, to be honest.
Okay, but my argument still stands.
I'm not saying it
How
doesn't.
many how many
You made a
views
valid
how
you
many views did they
you had a valid point. I don't disagree with that. And so the question then becomes, why did I even bring this up? Okay, I brought this up because of who this person is specifically, Angel Reese. All right, she's a young lady who gained a lot of media fame, and I say media fame because let me ask a question there, Vash. Had you heard of Angel Reese before?
No.
Okay,
I don't follow anything about women's basketball.
all right.
I'm not really a sports guy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I watch the NBA at a bar, I guess. But like, I'll place bets on the NBA at a bar, you
Okay,
know,
that's interesting. Because
whenever I seldom can afford that.
I refuse to gamble on sports. It's not that I'm against gambling, because there's other things. I have gone to casinos and I actually enjoy some of the gaming in casinos, but I will not gamble on
I
sports.
like Baccarat, honestly.
I'm a craps guy.
That and I can turn that craps table into an ATM unless they keep changing the dealer.
Yeah, craps tables was another one. But the Angel Reese gained a lot of notoriety, right? Due to media hype, right, around a player from Iowa at the time. Okay, and LSU last year, for those who don't know, right, won the NCAA Women's Championship. Now, once again, it doesn't surprise me that Vash doesn't know or anybody else doesn't know this, right? They don't follow sports um, like I do. But this young lady gained a lot of quote unquote fame, and with fame, especially with college sports nowadays, she wanted to turn that into cash. Okay. Now, this is understandable. Strike while the iron's hot, right? And so there's a lot of speculation as to what was going on with this woman, all right, because she got benched and then basically she was suspended from the team. She wasn't banned from the team, but she was suspended from all activities and everything. Okay. And there was a lot of rumors and everything flying as to what happened here, and no one, and I mean no one, except the families and of other players on the team have even talked about what has happened here, right? Why she was benched, and it comes down to something very simple, which is she'd gotten so much fame she thought she was bigger than the team. This is what you're hearing from the family members of the other players, right? Now, how truthful is that? To what extent are we going with this? No one knows. Okay, because no one's talking, and that includes the young lady herself. She hasn't explained why she was banned or suspended, rather. And this is one of the problems. The reason I brought this up is this is what happens with fame. If you become too famous too quickly, you get too full of yourself. It's easy to do, right? You lose your sense of self with all the adulation and everything else going around you. That you acquire all this and go, oh, look. Now, in her case, let's be perfectly honest, okay? Because if Ash is right, there are people doing Minecraft gaming channels that receive more eyes on them on a weekly basis than the WNBA would ever. All right. Uh, if she leaves college, if she doesn't have a degree that's worth anything, if she's got a degree in gender studies, for example, she's not going to be marketable in what she's gone to school for. So, what's her other skill set? Well, go into professional women's basketball. But in the United States, the most she's going to be able to make.
Or become a manager at McDonald's because you'll be making more money that way.
Going the McDonald's route is a method, all right, especially nowadays, since they keep jacking up the freaking prices on everything. Um, but it's not as easy as people think it is. Because you gotta, you know, it's not just gonna be given to you.
You got to push the mustard button and the ketchup button,
Not as a
and then you
manager.
got to put like the dried onions on there. Put the bun on top and then send it on its way. Now, as a manager, you got to teach people how to do that and not be a moron.
Not act like a moron and handle all the negative people when people complain that they're they're missing their food, or he put a French fry in my onion rings, or some other
Or
stupid
you
shit.
just give them free food. That's all you got to do.
You can't keep giving free food out, because if you get known for free food, people try to take advantage of the place.
Well,
So,
that's whenever you also do the strict of just yelling at people and telling them to fuck off.
if you go the Elon Musk route, is that what you're trying to say now?
Yes. I actually honestly support Elon Musk in telling everyone to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to bribe me with money, fuck you. Like, no. Like, I'm not going to take your advertisement bribes and all of that shit. Fuck you.
Well,
Like, you can kiss my ass.
the
Like I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. I support that.
Musk's statement was not in any way anti-Semitic. Okay, that's the problem.
No.
The problem is who in our society is being allowed to define these things, and they're being defined by leftists for the purpose of pushing leftist causes. Has nothing to do with whatever uh, you know type of ism that they're referring to, because it's not about that. All right, it's about pushing the leftist agenda every single time. But that's a separate issue, and I'm a little sidetracking here. So this young woman basically got got kicked out. What's she gonna do? She's gonna go into the WNBA, right? Unfortunately, the WNBA. I think the WNBA is on its last legs, quite frankly, because the NBA is getting ready for a come to Jesus moment, and I'm serious about that. There's a number of things that are going on in professional sports right now, and certain professional sports has seen a massive decline.
Well, they've changed the ball again.
That's not the problem.
Like, I mean, isn't it?
They go out of their way to try and make the game exciting and trying to get fans, but that's not the problem in the NBA. The problem in the NBA is the same problem that Major League Baseball had. Okay. And that
Hey, I
is,
like baseball.
do you watch it?
Yeah, I'll actually watch a baseball game.
Yeah. Most people don't even watch it anymore. Major League Baseball has devolved into, from where it used to be a national sport, where it was on nationally all the time. Now it's regional.
Like, I watch Japanese baseball too. Those people get fucking into it.
Well, once again, there's a difference there, all right, and how they treat it, right? But baseball has sank away from the national level, and the reason it did is due to the players' union. The players became too powerful, and they basically started saying, "We run the game," and they ran the game into the ground. That's the reality. They started making it so that these players are getting massive amounts of pay. Okay, they're getting 40, $50 million, when you had Alex Rodriguez, when he got his $250 million, $250 million, all right, for playing baseball. When they got to those huge contracts, they forgot about the fans. Now, it used to be you could go watch a game, and I'm not exaggerating this. This is just 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you could go watch a baseball game, all right, and get seats that you could see the field. Okay, I'm not saying you'd be sitting behind home plate, but you could see the field for $15. Okay, that was 20 years ago. That was just 20 years ago. You can't even get into the parks now unless it's $50. And as a result, they have divorced themselves from the average person. The average person used to be able to go to a game. Now, the average person isn't able to attend games constantly. All right, and what the result is, as you're seeing, is they devolve down to it. The NBA is having that same problem. The players have become too powerful. The players' union rules the roost, and the unlike baseball, where the quality of play didn't really drop off, in basketball, the quality of play is horrific. In the NBA, the quality of play just isn't there. It just
Yeah.
isn't there. And as a result, fewer and fewer and fewer people are watching the NBA, right? They don't care for the antics of some of the quote unquote stars of the NBA. And I'm not talking necessarily about just about the players, right? Several of the coaches have opened their mouths, all right, and tried to make political statements that they have no business making political statements on, all right? And the result is people go to watch sports for escapism, all right, so that they can put their other worries behind them and they can escape into the world of, if I could be on the field, what could I do, right? And when these people bring in politics in it breaks the ability of people to escape, you know, to put themselves in there, to be a part of that, because you're taking whatever stance you take, especially if it's a controversial stance. And a controversial stances are not necessarily defined by, okay, you're taking a stance that the media likes or dislikes. Okay, it's controversial when half the people support it and half the people don't. That's what controversy is. When you got a large group of on either side of an issue, that's when you have controversy. Well, when you're making stances that people are thinking, "Oh, this isn't controversial," but it actually is controversial, right? And you're trying to moralize and preach and stuff. The result is people can't escape. They can't use that forum anymore as a form of escapism. And so what's the result? People stop going to the games. People stop watching the games. It breaks the link to the average fan. And then you add on to the fact, like I said, to go to watch a basketball game, you can't even get into the you can't even get into the freaking stadium for probably less than $70. $70 just to get into the stadium, and the seats you get are so high up that you're not gonna, you're gonna need a pair of binoculars to see the players. Is that how you want to watch a basketball game? Is that going to be entertainment to you? And so poor Angel Reese,
I mean, I
who's
can't go to the bar anymore, so I don't. I mean, I can't go to the bar anymore, so I don't really get to watch basketball.
oh no, you're devastated. The devastation that you can't watch basketball
Yep,
anymore.
yep.
I
Yeah,
think I
it's
think
it's
I
pretty
don't.
much that like that Loki meme. Okay. Anyway, yes, yes, very sad. Anyway,
Yeah, pretty much. Let's go on to the next story, shall we?
yeah,
Florida high school reassigns principal, assistant principal, and sports coaches after they let a trans athlete compete on the girls' volleyball team. Students' friends blast officials claiming she hasn't come out yet. I'm sorry. If you're gonna say, "Hi, I'm Alice," right? But you don't know that I'm Alice. Am I missing something here,
Wait,
Matt?
wait, wait. How did she not come out yet, but at the same time get part of the women's volleyball team? Or the girls' volleyball team, excuse me.
Florida High. That's my point. Florida high school
I,
principal.
I'm how did how did how did the coach know that they were trans if they hadn't come out yet?
I don't know. Maybe the
How
girls'
did they
girls' shower room should have been a
I,
giveaway.
uh, there's so many questions here. MC, you can't just give me that paragraph and not have these answers.
Well,
Like,
let's read the story. A Florida high school principal and three others have been reassigned. I'm sorry, reassigned.
they've been okay. So we're not gonna have you as the swim team anymore. We're gonna just make you do math
Oh no! But
and
the
teach
Florida
kids
principal was
math.
reassigned. The Florida principal has been reassigned. His name used to be James. Now it's Jennifer. Sorry. Anyway, the Florida high school principal and three other officials have been reassigned after letting a trans girl play on the girls' volleyball team, despite it being against the law. The principal, James Cecil, assistant principal, Kenneth May, athletic director, Dion Hester, I'm hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, right, and volleyball coach Jessica Norton were all shuffled away from teaching roles. Bosses at the Monarch High School in Pompano Beach, all right, had raised allegations of improper student participation in sports. It comes after Ron DeSantis, like he has anything to do with this, signed a bill barring transgender females from playing on public school teams intended for student athletes born as girls in 2021. Although we cannot comment further, we will continue to follow state law and take appropriate action based on the outcome of the investigation, said the Broward County School District spokesman. That's all you needed to know, folks. Broward County. Cesspool.
So
Florida's leftist movement. So what are you gonna have?
so the I I have more questions the more that you went into this article.
A family friend of the trans athlete told CBS Miami the student hadn't come out yet as transgender, with officials saying they mishandled the student's privacy.
So they haven't come out. Can we get a picture of the trans student?
No, no, they do not have a picture of the trans student. It's a
Okay,
minor,
I'm
right?
sure
It's a
I'm
it's
sure somewhere on the
it's
internet might,
it's a
but
minor, all right. So they're gonna be somewhat protective of the fact that it's a minor. But the reality is the idea that somehow they didn't know that they were trans. Come on, come on.
ugh.
So he's running around. In other words, they're trying to pretend when the girl goes into the frickin' shower, right? And they're not gonna notice a difference. Really?
Ugh.
All right, you're not going to notice a difference. Now, here's the problem with this crap that I have. If you're a leftist, where you've pushed this whole BS called Title IX, right, into high schools and in colleges, how then can you push Title IX and say, well, but males can compete with females? Then there's no need for female sports. There's no need for all male sports. Just let them call it sports and let them compete, right? Am I missing something?
Well, I mean, to me, I believe that um, doing that would make that doing that honestly would be fairly interesting. Uh, to just have males and females all competing against each other. It would probably breed a stronger female, to be honest, if we're going to look at genetics. But
It'll ensure that females never compete. That's what'll happen.
I don't know. I don't know about that because even in Athens, like females could actually wrestle the male, and
They never won.
they could. There's some of them that have.
Not.
There's also wit in battle, sir.
There is wit, all right, but there comes a point of there also comes a point of
If a
logistics.
chick kisses you, if a chick kisses you off guard, yeah, they could throw you over their shoulder.
I don't disagree with you, right? But the reality is you don't have the they can do that with a guy in a circumstance. They can't do it to most
Well, yeah,
guys in
it's
most
one v
circumstances.
one.
Okay. And once somebody
I
sees
mean, it's one v one.
he did it to Fred when Charlie walks into the ring. Charlie's like, okay, and the first thing he's going to do is just kick her out of the ring.
I
he's
mean,
not
there's
giving her a
an
chance to do
entire
anything.
martial arts of a chick showing boobs. It is.
and when
It's a thing.
and when
You can look it up.
Charlie dates Dan, he's not interested, and she's going to get kicked in the chest. Just pointing this out. Okay.
Oh God, I'm seeing the next article.
This is what's happening in
Hashtag
schools.
leave the kids alone.
Also, news in Florida. You brought it up. Tampa woman posed as homeschooled 14-year-old to molest middle schoolers, say police. A woman pretended to be a 14-year-old homeschooled child to prey on middle schoolers for sex. Alicia Ann Ziegler, 22, was arrested for allegedly engaging in at least 30 sexual acts with at least one student and sending explicit videos to several more. It's disturbing and unsettling to see an adult take advantage of a child and prey on them, said the Tampa Police Chief Lee Burklaw, right, in a statement. Anyone who may have been a victim of Ziegler's, we encourage you to come forward. The Tampa Police Department will support you and ensure a predator like Ziegler doesn't cause you or others any additional harm. Okay. Um, I don't know if this was what this was. The victim, a boy between the ages of 12 and 15, told police that the pair had sex multiple times and Zinger sent him explicit photos and videos. Okay, now this is a female predator. She's going to jail. All right, because she was posing as a
So
14-year-old girl.
she's actually facing prison,
Yes, she's actually
and the person that they preyed upon was a female.
male, 14-year-old.
Oh, male. Okay, well, good job, Florida.
Well, we assume because it was between 12 and 15 is what they said that the age of the boy was.
Okay, well, still good job, Florida.
Um,
Leave the kids alone. Let kids fucking be
obviously, first
kids.
first of all, I gotta ask questions. She's a 22-year-old. Okay, she couldn't find guys to have sex with. I mean, let me put it.
I think
Let me
it's
put her
more of
back
a
up here.
power dynamic.
She's not an uncomely individual.
I mean, I think it's more of a power dynamic to them.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure it's a thing that's a part of this. But at 22 years old, you are that lost already. What did she do for her as
Um,
what did she do in her life? I mean, for like work and stuff. How did she support herself? That she could pretend to be a 14-year-old homeschooler.
which okay, so they're going to like homeschool like parks and neighborhoods and stuff or something.
I don't know.
Like how there she posed as a 14-year. Were there parents that bought this?
She literally
Like,
tried to keep up her
was this
facade in front of her
repeated?
victim and told an officer she was born in 2009, a lie he was unable to verify. The officer confirmed that the other Alicia Ann Zinger he could find information on was born in 2001. In a desperate attempt at deception, she claimed that she had a half sister with the same name.
Oh, it's my twin. It's always my twin.
um, like I said, what does she do for work? Is she a college student? Is she a living with her family? You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm asking, right? How is it? How do you have time to pretend to be a 14-year-old high schooler?
Yeah, like I don't know, honestly. Like these people probably don't have lives. I mean, personally, I have to work a 40-hour shift. It's a night shift normally. And I'm also balancing that with being a dad and making time for people on the internet. Um, so I don't know.
You're quite
It's
the social butterfly there, Vash.
yeah. I've become a hermit. I really have. Um, but in that, there's a bit of stoicism. I'm just doing my own thing. It's not meaning to be negative towards anyone, but it's more of just I got to do this in order to do this. So unless you can help, well, I'm gonna go over and do
Well,
that.
right. But that's the point. That's my point.
You want to chop wood with me? Yeah, sure, we can chop wood together. But guess what? I need to chop some wood to get some fire going.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the point. I just look at this. I'm like, okay, what are these people doing? and and unfortunately, this is endemic anymore. Okay, now when it comes
I
to
don't understand why somebody would. Okay, so I'm trying to think not only of that, but think about this person probably did this more than once. They got caught right there. You see.
Oh yeah, no, I
They
agree.
got caught, but they did this more than once, which means that people probably believed her a couple of times.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt that people believe that this girl was 14. Okay, there are short girls, and I'm not trying to put anything of it, but there when women turn around the age of 14, 15 years old, they don't necessarily grow like guys do. And what I mean by that is height wise. Some girls are still growing, but the vast majority by the time they're 14 are probably at the height that they're going to grow. They're not going to grow another 3 to 4 inches. Most boys will grow another 3 to 4 inches between 14 and 18 years old. Right? Girls, on the other hand, won't grow that much. They grow out maybe, if you catch my drift, but they don't grow height wise. Okay, and that is
Yeah, we grew vertically, they grew horizontally.
not exactly, not
Oh,
exactly,
genetics.
but yes, yes, in a sense, yes. All right, but these are those differences that people talk about. There are girls that I've seen that I knew were 14 years old, and you're like, they look like they're fully developed. Does that make sense? All right. And it's
Yeah.
surprising. You think that they're an adult at that point, all right? And they're nowhere near being an adult. Now you can usually tell that immediately as soon as they open their mouths, but that's a separate issue. As soon as you start trying to have a conversation with them, you realize you're dealing with an
You
obviously
just kind
young
of look
person.
at them and go, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're that."
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but to be honest, it is an issue, and this goes down to, quite frankly, age of consent. And I don't have an answer for this, and I don't have an answer for it because age of consent is a term we use in a legal sense, and we apply whatever definition we want to apply to it. Okay, in other words, we put a barrier and say, okay, at this age, okay. The problem with
Well,
doing that is
I see it.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I see it as you like. This is why I started whenever you showed that article is hashtag leave the kids alone. Like whenever I think about it, kids will do that with other kids. All right, that might happen. You know, prom night being a magical moment where you have your high school sweetheart, blah 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 blah. Bleh. You get what I mean.
Yes.
Like it'll happen. Let that run its natural course and leave the kids the fuck alone.
I I agree. The problem is defining what even defining what a kid is. Age of consent depends
Uh, for me,
is
under 18.
yeah. Well, okay, and but once again, that's an arbitrary standard. There are plenty of 17-year-olds that are mentally as prepared as 23 or 24
If
year olds.
they follow the emancipation laws, then yes.
Well, right, right. But this is my point. My point is that that's a legal standard, and I'm not arguing against it. Understand this. I'm just trying to point this out. The problem with
Yeah,
what's been going
but
on.
I believe that the emancipation law would be the only exception that I would actually look at a person that is below the age of 18 as an adult.
Well, why not just sit up there and say,
If they can pay their rent, pay their taxes, and do everything else, then yes, I would grant them the right to vote.
Well, we'll go talk about voting later. but but my point here,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is I would fundamentally see them as on the same level as an 18-year-old
yeah,
if they would be able to fulfill all of those. If
correct.
they could check all of those boxes.
And there are some that would be able to do it. It's not the majority by any stretch of the imagination, however. Okay, and that's when it comes to
Oh no, it would be single digit percentile.
yeah, when it comes to consent though, all right, and things like this, how much should the state be actually involved in? All right, I'm don't get me wrong, I'm I'm just putting this out there as a question, not because I don't have an answer. Obviously, you have to protect children
I'm
and you have to protect their innocence. And it's one of the problems is there's a huge societal issue to try and sexualize children at an earlier and earlier age. All right, and this has
I
led
would
to these kind
say
of things.
I would honestly say whenever it comes to consent, there is like I believe that certain kids need more therapy than others before we even do that because they need to be taught, this is what you are going into. um there is more than more than I would say around 16 would know at least the aspects of sexual play. Now, the depth of what uh, consequences of those actions, they don't. They don't really understand. They don't understand the dopamine effects or the fact that whenever you um, have sexual relations, that there is a part of you that is kind of taken and replaced with a part of them in a sense. Um, this is only theory, but it's one of the theories that I stand on with a couple of friends.
Well, the
And
but the problem that I have with that, Vash, is that is an individual standard. You're trying to treat individuals as individuals, and I understand that. But when you talk about the law has to look at the totality. The individuality goes out the window. Okay, so
the
what?
totality, well, then in that case, make it to where 18,
Okay, but then are you going to have to sit up there and
just
say?
across the board.
Then you're going to say that sex by anyone under the age of 18 is illegal?
We could probably make a 3-year marker on above and below.
Personally,
Like that way, there's like some sort of Romeo and Juliet law.
it's an interesting concept.
But
I don't think I necessarily agree with
it
any
would
of it.
be more strict considering there'd be like a 21 to 22-year-old dating like I don't know, a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, probably a friend's little sister
Well,
or some shit.
there comes a point of treating the problem is the transition between a child, all right, and an adult. So there's a transition period there where we used to use the term young adult, okay, and the point where you're using the term young adult, You should have an expectation that they understand the difference between right and wrong. Everyone should be married by 21.
Yeah.
Lou's got the answer, all right? We define who you're going to marry right off the bat. You start pairing people up. You say, hey, if you don't already commit to this, we're going to sit up there and put these people together, and this is who you'll marry. I, I, I don't care. Lou, Lou's got the answer here. Believe it or not, that is it. It does fix some things. It may not be socially acceptable today, but it once it was. You know, once
Okay, so make it up to the state to have them marry.
it worked for
So
thousands
that
of
way they
years.
don't even get a choice. It's like you better choose by 21 because the moment that you turn 21, we'll fucking choose for you.
You'll come in with your partner, and if you come in and when you're turning 21, you come in and you're assigned your marriage certificate. If you've chosen your partner, great. If you haven't chosen your partner, well,
Don't worry, we'll find one.
right here.
For better or worse, in sickness and in health.
Till death do you part. Okay. Seth Rich's laptop.
I mean, that could either be really, really good or really, really bad in both perceptions.
It's very true. Very true. Seth Rich's laptop to be turned
Like, there
over.
could be some midget, goony looking motherfucker that could be like, getting like laid with like some like
They
I
had
don't
you. They
know.
had your little lottery balls. Number 22. Number 68.
Do I really have to marry that?
Anyway, all right. Seth Rich's
Okay.
laptop to be turned over by the FBI. Judge rules. A judge has ordered the FBI to turn over the laptop of murdered Democrat staffer Seth Rich. The Texas judge Amos Mazant ordered a timeline for the disclosure of information on Rich's personal laptop, Seth Rich's work laptop, the DVD, and the tape drive within 14 days of issuance of this memorandum of opinion and order. On Wednesday morning, Rich, who worked for the Democratic National Committee, was killed on July 10th, 2016, while making his way home from a night out in Washington, D.C. The 27-year-old was speaking to his girlfriend on the phone when shots were heard. His death has, in the years since, been used by right wing activists to fuel far reaching theories about Democrats. While a killer has not been found, police said evidence indicates that he was a victim of a botched robbery. The police that you talked to may have said that, but anybody with any kind of common sense knows that this was not a botched robbery. Okay? Anybody with any kind of common sense. He was on the phone with his girlfriend when he was shot. Was he saying to his girlfriend he was being robbed? No. So why is it that you're thinking this was a botched robbery? Just pointing it out.
So the FBI stole the laptop.
Okay. Do you remember this story? I don't know how much you remember about this, about who Seth Rich was.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to piece together the timeline with new data.
Okay.
But if you'd like to, you can go ahead.
Seth Rich was the although he's never been uh, officially by Julian Assange, the one who leaked the information on Hillary Clinton to WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
All right. And there's a lot of speculation. There was a lot of speculation about Pizzagate and what was involved with her campaign manager, Podesta at the time. You remember all this that was swirling around then? Ring any bells?
A little bit.
So there was a lot of questions as to whether or not Rich, what was on this, why was he killed, and so forth. And people say, well, it was a botched robbery. Well, then how come they didn't take any of his money? They didn't take his wallet. They didn't take his. He had a Rolex on, right? How come they didn't take any of that? All right. So the police's assessment that this was somehow a robbery that turned into a murder or a botched robbery, as they keep trying to claim, it doesn't hold water. Okay. This looks like an
Well, it does hold water, but it's only dog water.
All right. So people want to know what was on his laptop because the FBI grabbed all this stuff and then refused to say what was on any of this. So people have been speculating, and this is the problem. Okay, when agencies do this kind of stuff because no one trusts them anymore, regardless of how you feel about what happened here. When people don't release the information, okay, other people are going to question it. It's a natural consequence of who we are. And people are now going to start suspecting that there's something suspicious going on. And let's be honest, this guy was outed as the leaker for WikiLeaks almost immediately for people who don't know this, right? People who had been speculating that this guy had been the WikiLeaks leaker for a long time. Okay. So it was kind of like an open secret to an extent, right? Once that was leaked on Hillary's campaign and so forth, right? So the the question has always been, first of all, to confirm whether or not he was the person who leaked the information, and second of all, what other information is did he have? Well, the FBI has never released anything. Now, I'm not saying that the FBI needs to release anything or any on every single case, right? But as far as this has been going on, as far as this has been happening, people are like questioning. Okay, well, what data is on here? All right, is there any relevant data? And the FBI refuses to release anything or show anything about it. And which leads to the next question: why was the FBI involved? So, which is a good question, but the reason the FBI can easily get involved in this case is that the crime happened in D.C. D.C. is not, it's federally managed. Okay, and yes, they have a D.C. police. Okay, but overseeing them should be federal agencies. Now, why the FBI was assigned when they could have just given it over to a federal marshal, sort of the federal marshal service, is a question. Okay, but it's also that could just simply be as they have the means and technical means to sit up there and deal with something like this. But they still haven't caught the person. They still have no suspects. All right, it's 2023.
It's
It's 8 years
still glow
later.
in the dark.
You're dealing with something that was basically 8 years ago, and we still have no information.
That's
7 years
that's very glowy.
ago. Very glowy. So, of course, everyone wants to know because there are theories, right? There are conspiracy theories that he he
Glowy
has
theories.
he has the information on John Podesta and Podesta's brother concerning Pizzagate. And there's a lot of theories behind that. And the FBI, which initially denied the fact that the term pizza and hot dogs were being used as in the pedophile community as sexual terms, finally admitted this year that yeah, they do use those terms. So I'm not saying anything as far as who's involved in what and where, but there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke, and it needs to be investigated. And trying to hide it behind things is not going to
Um,
help. is not going
And
to help matters.
isn't there a live broadcast with Hillary saying that she loves cheese pizza? I mean, I distinctly remember seeing that live broadcast where Hillary Clinton said that she loved cheese pizza.
Well, she said she likes having a slice, which was another euphemism, but that in and
And
of itself
it
we
was
don't know.
sliced cheese pizza,
Right.
though. But I'm not. I myself like a nice deep dish meat lovers, but that's not code. And I'm totally not presenting that Hillary has anything to do with any of those conspiracies unless it might be brought up in those conspiracies. But I don't know anything about that. I'm just a believer.
Hi, Hurricane.
And
Welcome back. It's been a while since I've seen you in the chat. By the way, you're now a moderator, so please play nice. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and I do not wish to kill myself at the moment.
you,
So
you, you want to avoid Hillary? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're
well, I
trying to say? You're
mean,
trying to avoid the Hillary standard? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just saying her own employment has a 35% death rate of suicide. I
Look,
mean, being shot twice in the back of the head, I don't know how you could shoot twice, but suicide.
look. The Clintons are dirty. All right, we all know the Clintons are dirty. Anybody who thinks that the Clintons are clean in any way, shape, or form are just ridiculous. Okay, you have to go into massive denial. Okay, um, as to who the Clintons really are and have been. It's one of the biggest problems that I've had from the very beginning. One of the problems that we have today, with what's been going on today, all right, is the fact that people who supposedly were the moralistic side of the left, people like Joe Lieberman, okay, who made comments when he was a senator that what what Clinton did, what Bill Clinton did was wrong, what he did was illegal, what he did was impeachable. I just don't want to do it. When you make those statements, you've lost all credibility on the left. And it's been a downward spiral ever since. It's not that there haven't been in US history, all right, corrupt politicians. We mentioned Athens, Tennessee, earlier. But the reality is when you when you know something's corrupt, when you know it's wrong, and you say, "Okay, I just don't want to do anything about it." Now,
There
you
also
were you were
seems to be an
probably
ongoing theme of them. There also seems to be an ongoing theme of them being democratic.
well. It's because the cesspool, all right, has was first applied that way. there, it's not that the Republicans aren't corrupt or don't have corruption in them, right? The one of the problems became when the press decided to only filter corruption on the right and not filter it on the left. That was one of the big demarcations. And once again, that goes back to Bill Clinton because they did everything they could to save that scumbag and lied to the American people about who this bastard really was and what he was doing because it was more important to
Well, I
save him.
mean, Kennedy was in the back pocket of the mafia.
No, not really. There are Kennedy people. There are ties to the Kennedy family to the mob. Okay, you can't deny that. Do I believe that JFK was part of that? No. Do I think that JFK was the hero everyone claims that he was or thinks of him as? That it was Camelot? No,
Okay,
it's
okay.
not. It's not that.
I don't believe that JFK was a mobster, but I do believe that JFK was in the families of mob. Now, whenever I say that, there is a distinction that nobody really knows.
Well, okay, the Kennedys became wealthy through prohibition, all right, through bootlegging during prohibition. You cannot deny that. Okay. Um, the family by was going to be turned over to Joe. Okay. In World War II, because Joe was the eldest, the family was going to he was going to inherit the family business basically. The rest of the family was going to be held at the outside. They were never going to be part of the internals, and that included JFK, John. That included RFK, his brother. Right. It also included their other brother, Teddy. Okay. But what happened to Joe? Do you know, Vash?
Died?
Yeah, he died. He died in World War II during a testing of a specialized bomber. Okay, that they were going to use to try and they were going to go on a secret mission with the bomber, and unfortunately, it exploded. All right, and killed everyone. All right, they never even found the plane. They didn't even find pieces of the plane or even the bodies. Okay, and and I truly believe
Yeah.
that it was one of the things that just it was one of the it was truly an accidental thing. I don't think there was anything nefarious necessarily that happened with that. It's just one of those things that you were testing an experimental flying bomb is what they were doing. It was going to be basically flown by remote control into a target, right? And so I don't think that anything, wasn't anything that somebody, rewired something intentionally wrong. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, when John took over and became the president, okay, his brother decided to bring down the mob. Do you know anything? What do you know about the presidency of JFK? Do you remember anything about that, or learn anything about that?
There was surprisingly compared to the history now, I would go back there.
Yeah, JFK's administration.
I would go back to that era.
JFK's administration was what he tried to do is bring in all the new guys, right? We're going to bring in the young guns per se, right? And one of those people he brought in was his brother, Robert. Okay, and he made Robert the DA, right? Or the not the GA, excuse me, the AG, the Attorney General of the United States. Okay, so Robert Kennedy decided to utilize these things to go after the mob, and he used illegal means to do so. Right, with the help, all right, of J. Edgar Hoover, who was still the director of the FBI at the time. Okay, and what Robert Kennedy did is he ordered illegal wiretappings on suspected mobsters to learn where they were utilizing their laundry at, where they were doing their laundry at, and then would subpoena those people legally, all right, those agencies legally to get the evidence to put them in jail for tax evasion. Okay, so in other words, he
Hmm.
was he was using illegal wiretaps, which he knew the actual tapes couldn't be used as evidence in court, but he used that to sit up there and say, okay, yeah, but I have another thing over here, but he was never telling the court that he was using the legal means to come up with, okay, you know, why are you suspicious of this? Does that make sense? And he was
Hmm.
and he was very effective.
I just so happen to know that you do this, so where does your expenses of this come from?
Exactly. So, all right. So it was a very effective technique. All right. And obviously a very dubious ones when the courts eventually found out about it, but because then that's when they came up with the whole idea of a poison tree, blah 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 blah. I'm not going to go into all that where all that came down from, right? But
Yeah.
JFK also brought in other people like McNamara. Okay, McNamara is the one who came up during the Johnson administration, made the comment of, "We don't want to win the Vietnam War, we just don't want to lose it." That's your Secretary of Defense comment, a public comment he made. Okay, just pointing it out. Okay.
We just don't want to lose it. I think you lost the Vietnam War, bud. I
Well,
mean, we got to take that to the chest.
we
We fucked them up, but ultimately we did not succeed in our mission in Vietnam.
right, which is to prevent it from becoming communist. That's very true. We did succeed in a larger sense of we stopped the spread of communism from beyond those borders for the most part. But even that's somewhat of a dubious claim because of how much effect that we had. But it was what it was. Okay, the we didn't go into the Vietnam War for the correct reasons, and I personally don't think we ever should have been involved in the Vietnam War. But once you get engaged in combat, you go to finish it, and this whiny little tit for tat crap doesn't work. It's a war at that point. Stop trying to treat it like a policing action. Separate issue, I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that
It,
go on.
I mean, why did we have to do that? Why couldn't we have just went after the hermit country? And because like if we had two South Koreas instead of a shitty North Korea, it would be amazing. Dude, that's the new Hollywood.
It is, and it will be going forward. But to be honest, this is all going to be for this stream today, at least for this part of the stream, because I got another stream right afterwards. Vash, you're welcome to join that one, right? Which would be just a
Yeah, sure.
different one. But I have to leave right now so I can do some personal business. Specifically, I have to run to the restroom. So I will see you at the next one. I'm going to stop this one and we'll go on to the next one. Okay.
All right.
All right. I'll talk to you later, folks. Bye bye.